Hey, everybody. Welcome. Thanks for joining today to this live webinar, Bridging the Divide, Connecting Hybrid Corporate Staff and Deskless Frontline Workers. While people are joining, I'd love to have in the chat, put in where are you? Where are you in the world? What industry are you in? If you're here today, you're probably looking at how to make things even better. Maybe things are already great, but they could be better. Let us know where you're at. I'm here in beautiful Seattle. I can't believe it's only Tuesday, right? Sometimes it's nice to have these webinars sometimes on a Friday to be like, hey, what's everyone doing this weekend? Or a Thursday. I'm already thinking about the weekend, I guess. But we do have Labor Day coming up. We were just talking about that with my team. It's nice sometimes to take, the Friday off when you have a Monday off, so you get a nice 4-day weekend. We're actually doing right now for August. Maybe we'll just do it for September as well. We're doing Friday afternoons off. Sometimes you still work on Friday afternoons, but it's nice being able to, not have to worry about having to, be in the office till 5 p.m. on Friday. I think oftentimes we actually end up being even more productive on the earlier days. But yeah, it's great to see people calling in from Sacramento, construction company. I love that. That's exactly what this is going to be about. Our colleague Jess is in Florida. I see Stuart's in Indiana. Thanks, people, for joining. Let's go ahead and get started. It's going to be exciting to go through some of these things. I got a lot of cool stats. So if your company spans corporate offices and also the shop floor of the construction site, the hospital ward, you felt the divide. So on one side, corporate staff live in Slack or Teams or email. On the other side, frontline staff are working with people face to face and are overwhelmed by messages on Slack or don't have a corporate email at all. When left unaddressed, this gap creates two distinct company cultures under one roof. One feels connected to strategy, and the other feels like transactional labor. Today, we're digging into why this schism happens and how to silently it erodes trust and retention, and most importantly, what you can actually do about it. We will cover real data, mobile strategies, and plus practical ways to make your entire workforce feel like one single team. So let's dive in. So first, about me, I am Alex Grandi. I am the co-founder and CEO of Recognize. We are an employee experience platform providing employee recognition, rewards, surveys for frontline workers for the back office. Our big thing is we're in Microsoft Teams, Outlook, SharePoint, but also we do text message notification and some other cool things. And I can show you a little bit about that in this presentation. I'm passionate about the frontline. I come from a construction family. I did construction along with my father in my 20s before moving on and transitioning over to software, and my passion in psychology, which I have a background in as well. But I understand what it's like to be in that environment. And so, I do understand both sides, which is why I'm passionate about this topic. So for this next 40 minutes, I've broken this into essentially 5 parts. First, the macro reality, examining the global labor divide and why traditional IT leaves frontline staff behind. Second, the financial cost, breaking down the true balance sheet price of frontline turnover, safety risks, and manager burnout. Third, technology architecture, building a mobile-first digital experience without corporate emails or passwords. Fourth, recognition and feedback, celebrating wins and closing two-way communication loops. And fifth, the executive roadmap, legal guardrails, a 90-day implementation plan, and how to prove ROI to your C-suite. So let's get started by looking at the numbers. So here is a stat that may surprise many executives. 80% of the global labor workforce, around 2.7 billion people, work in deskless environments. They're on their feet caring for patients, running lines, and serving customers. Yet standard enterprise software was built almost exclusively for the 20% who sit at desks. Meanwhile, Gallup reports global employee engagement has dropped to 20%. In the United States, it hit a decade low of 31%. Globally, disengagement costs around $10 trillion annually in lost productivity, which is about 9% of the global GDP. When 80% of your employees are disconnected from corporate channels, that micro disengagement lands squarely on your operational performance. So let's look at why standard communication channels often fail on the factory floor or the nursing unit. First, I want to mention that a third of Deskless employees say that they feel the communication is not as effective for them as their office peers. What's more striking, over half say corporate news feels barely relevant to them in their daily work. The problem is often fixable. 39% cite broadcasts arrive at a bad time, like when they're caring for patients or operating machinery. 32% cite heavy workloads resulting in no time to read the corporate news, and 22% say the updates are scattered across bulletin boards, shift huddles, and separate logins. So the bottom line is when information is hard to find, the workers stop looking. So I'd love to do a poll, actually. We have a few polls to do, or maybe we'll just do this one. If we can, I'm just curious of the group. I know we have somewhat of a small group, which is awesome to have, but amongst the people here, so we're talking about the divide, talking about Frontline. Is there a divide in your company? Is there a big divide or no divide? Where are you at right now and what you feel? And that's the point of these live webinars is we come here to connect with people. So, that's why, put your information into the chat. You can make connections in this webinar. Think of this as like a, digital conference room, right? So let's see what the results of the poll are. If you give people just a moment to fill it out. So, okay, great. No huge divide of the 7 people who participated in the poll, but I think this would probably be, looking at this a bit of a bell curve I see here. Maybe skewing a little bit towards the smaller divide, which is great to see. But half of you did say that there is a divide. I think that probably translates to a larger population. So hey, I'm glad we're all here, and obviously you're passionate about doing something about it. So kudos to everyone for coming to this session. So okay, let's talk about this idea of a technology gap that creates this 2 culture trap. Frontline staff actually have great peer-to-peer relationships. Research shows 76% feel strongly connected to their immediate shift crew. But cross-level communication from crew to the back office leadership suffers a 63% communication gap. At corporate offices, staff enjoy flexible hybrid work, collaborative chat apps, leadership visibility. But on the front line, workers often feel isolated shift labor. In fact, 24% of Deskless employees report feeling completely disconnected from the company culture. This fosters an us versus them climate. Frontline teams view HQ as out of touch, while HQ misinterprets frontline silence as satisfaction. And we have to break that pattern. Disconnection isn't just a culture issue. It's a major cash drain. We've seen data from SHRM and Gallup that replacing an employee can cost 50% of their annual salary. For an hourly frontline worker, replacement costs average 40% of pay, or about $12,000 to $24,000 per departure. Because communication barriers, Deskless turnover actually runs 1.6 times higher than office roles. Things like retail hits 42% turnover, healthcare is at 22.7%, and hospitality exceeds 50%. So recruitment costs are only part of that story. Gallup's meta-analysis comparing top quartile engaged teams to bottom quartile teams reveals a massive difference. Highly engaged units experience 63 to 70% lower safety incidences. Why? Because connected workers communicate hazards, follow protocols, and look out for each other. And 70% drop in incidences can save millions of dollars in liabilities. Top teams also see a 32 to 40% fewer quality defects, 78% lower absenteeism, and 23% higher profitability. Thus, engagement and culture unification should be a key operational strategy. It isn't just frontline that needs our attention. Middle managers are caught in a major squeeze, and we want to improve things for them, right? Global manager engagement recently dropped from 31 to 22%. Flattened structures and wider spans of control have left supervisors overwhelmed. Frontline managers spent hours manually relaying corporate news, writing schedules, hunting down shift coverage. Here's the problem. Direct managers drive up to 70% of team engagement variance. A burnt out shift manager cannot inspire frontline team. They don't have the bandwidth to recognize good work or champion change. To fix frontline communication, we must give middle managers streamlined tools that reduce that administrative burden. So how do we bridge that gap? Well, first and foremost, we want to rethink the digital employee experience, or DEX. For years, IT assumes that desktop portals and domain logins are enough, but frontline managers and frontline workers don't sit at desks. Research shows 82% of frontline staff say better tech would boost their productivity, yet 60% are unhappy with current workplace tools. We must move away from desktop intranets and mandatory VPNs. Frontline DEX requires a mobile native platform designed for on-the-go work. Again, no matter if you're doing the work or you're a manager. So put schedules, safety alerts, SOPs, and recognition directly on the mobile devices workers already carry. It's not easy, but if we strive for systems that support our offline caching, right? So people who are in low connectivity areas, low internet, want to have cache data there. So it downloads it when they're in connection. That's what we want to strive towards. And when we respect the workers' time and increase their access to data, adoption of these tools will soar. And I love to just give a short little demo of how our tool Recognize works in that world. So we're employee recognition and rewards. So here's an example on the right of what it would look like on the phone if you were, let's say, to not download Recognize. Maybe you get a text message from us that says, hey, you've received an award, or you're a manager. It says, hey, recognize your colleague Sam today, right? We have these reminders from managers that are sent by text message. You can come into the application without downloading our Android or iPhone app. We're in Microsoft Teams on the phone. We're in SharePoint on the phone. We're in Slack. But what if you could just have it just by going to the website via text message? From there, also, then you can check out your profile and see the values or badges you've exhibited, or go redeem sporting tickets, concert tickets from the points you've earned from your anniversary, birthday, recognitions, or even completing a challenge that you can create, like completing a safety training or having 0 safety incidences. We also have modes where you can put it on the TV that can scroll the recognitions, or they could focus on the anniversaries and birthdays. And these things could also be in a horizontal grid mode for digital signage. And I'm going to go through all on examples of that in a second in the rest of the presentation. So those are examples of basically having a recognition rewards platform in the tools you're already using. And please connect with me. Jess just shared my LinkedIn. Happy to talk about more about how to get more of your tools in a mobile friendly environment, and what kind of strategies we can deploy to make them happen. So that's a little bit about us, a little quick plug, but let's keep going in the presentation. So as you saw a little bit, there was, I mentioned SMS, I mentioned the mobile web, I mentioned digital signage. So, you can't find a single communications silver bullet. No single channel reaches the entire distributed workforce. You need a multi-channel strategy. Mobile apps serve as a rich hub for communication updates, schedules, and peer recognition, like I just showed. But for urgent updates like plant closures or safety warnings, you can use SMS text messaging within Recognize or another tool. And then, this enjoys a 98% open rate. In a physical workplace, leveraging digital signage. So it can be displayed in break rooms or plant entrances, hospital wings. This delivers zero login, passive visual messaging. Workers absorb safety updates, operational metrics, and team wins while grabbing a coffee or during a shift exchange. So apps, SMS, digital signage, this creates strong coverage. Reaching workers is only the first step. Next is the messaging must be relevant. 53% of Deskless workers find company updates only somewhat relevant, and 21% find them totally irrelevant. So if you blast HQ news to plant workers, they'll tune out. Instead, use dynamic audience segmentation. Modern platforms filter updates automatically by location, department, role, and shift pattern. A technician in Ohio gets a site safety bulletin, not an HQ parking update. Furthermore, support real-time translation. Allowing employees to read updates instantly in their primary language helps get the message across and builds inclusion while cutting information fatigue. Okay, let's tackle the biggest hurdle HR faces: passwords and IT licensing. Traditional IT requires corporate emails, SOC receipts, and complex passwords. For hourly shift workers, that model breaks down. Forgotten passwords leads to help desk up delays, possible licensing cost increases, and workers simply give up. Modern platforms use passwordless authentication. Workers access schedules, training, and news via secure phone verification, single-use SMS links, or single sign-on. No corporate email or complex password maintenance should be required. IT security teams retain strict role-based access and data encryption without placing IT or login friction on your hourly staff. So how do you build culture where frontline workers get recognized without relying on email? Managers' appreciation account for 72% of engagement variance. Yet 35% of Deskless workers report receiving zero recognition. So what I recommend is deploying a 3-tier recognition model. First, peer micro recognition. Employees send quick mobile recognition or SMS shoutouts to shift mates for stepping up. Second, manager spot bonuses. Supervisors award immediate points tied to operational wins, like hitting safety targets. And third, public signage. Broadcast those peer recognitions in break rooms, print out award certificates, make it real without having to log in. This is because highlighting frontline contributions publicly builds trust across shifts and connects daily work to the company goals. Communication cannot be a one-way street. Top-down blast without bottom-up feedback reinforces isolation with the frontline employees. Giving employees a voice increases engagement by 17%. Frontline workers see process bottlenecks and safety risks long before leadership does. Replacing long annual surveys with lightweight mobile pulse surveys, this can allow you to send 2-question surveys via SMS or an app push. This will help close the feedback loop while giving your team less to do, right? Less questions, less results that you're responsible for, and that will actually then you'll do. And then this will show that the worker's voice actually drives real change and thus builds deep trust. Culture can also break down for staff with off-peak shifts and in remote sites. Overnight shift workers and weekend teams often feel completely forgotten. Town halls happen at 2 p.m., midday emails arrive while night staff are asleep, and remote crews rarely see executive leadership. Your culture strategy should operate asynchronously. Share short video updates from executives that the night crew can view on the mobile apps. Allow them to be on the mobile apps in the first place. Have break room signage that shows these messages that's tailored to them. Treat off-peak shifts with equal communication priority will align your entire enterprise and create just overall better culture. Now, here's a few real-world proof case studies that can show that these things work. So take OU Health. Healthcare staff are constantly on the go, rarely sit at computers. By launching a mobile app with passwordless access and targeted updates, OU Health achieved an 87% workplace engagement improvement within months. Or consider PetSmart. Managing retail associates across hundreds of stores is a major challenge. So by deploying a dedicated mobile app, PetSmart quadrupled industry engagement averages. And then there's JetBlue, connected thousands of their in-flight crew members and ground staff by putting news and recognition directly on the crew's mobile devices. So obviously getting a mobile app on people's devices, especially if it's BYOD, can be a challenge, but we should always be pursuing these types of goals because it's going to end up being worthwhile in the end. Now, before launching any apps, we need to address legal and governance guardrails. Under FLSA rules, sending non-urgent updates to hourly staff without shift hours creates an off-the-clock compensation risk. Modern platforms solve this with shift-based delivery controls, queuing non-urgent messages until workers clock in their next shift. In healthcare, channels must maintain, obviously, full HIPAA compliance and data encryption. And finally, again, establishing those clear BYOD policies. Downloading a mobile app should remain voluntary for non-exempt staff, supported by break room signage and shared shift tablets, as well as manager involvement in those team huddles. Early alignment with legal and IT security keeps these programs safe and compliant while still moving towards your goals with engagement. To execute smoothly, follow a structured 90-day phase rollout. In phase one is the first month. Phase one is the first month, and it will be to audit and architecture. Audit existing frontline channels, identify where workers face login friction, and map your audience segments by site and shift, and establish legal guardrails. Phase two is until day 60, and this is your targeted pilot. Avoid a big bang launch. Pilot mobile apps, SMS, and break room screens in a single plant or facility or team. Measure adoption and refine content. Phase three is until day 90. Here is where you'll scale and governance. Expand enterprise-wide. Train shift supervisors on recognition, and launch two-way pulse surveys. And a phase execution will lower risk and help build momentum. To maintain executive support, track metrics your C-suite cares about. Divide metrics into leading indicators and lagging outcomes. Leading indicators measures adoption, mobile download rates, SMS open rates, pulse survey completion, and peer shout-out volume. These confirm employees are consuming the updates. Lagging indicators prove financial ROI. Voluntary frontline turnover, absenteeism, safety incidences, and defect rates are all examples of lagging indicators. So when presenting to your CFO, connect communication adoption directly to savings, showing that a 10% engagement increase reduces turnover by, let's say, 15%, let's say saving $500,000 in recruiting costs, proves communication drives real-time, drives the bottom line, obviously elevating your career as well. Okay, so to wrap up, and we went through pretty quick here. I'm pretty excited that we had a nice pace here. To wrap up, bridging the corporate frontline divide is both a culture priority and operational necessity. Leaving a significant percentage of your workforce digitally excluded damages culture, lowers financial margins. But by modernizing your digital employee experience, such as reducing digital friction to information, empowering shift managers, and recognizing daily wins, you turn frontline disengagement into a competitive advantage. So here's what I recommend you do today. Look to run a channel audit to map access friction. Pilot passwordless mobile and digital signage tools for a single team. And train shift managers to drive to a dialogue on how to give weekly recognition. And lastly, I want to hear how it goes. So as we mentioned before, please reach out to me. There's my schedule calendar. You can schedule a call with me one-on-one. Yes, I run a recognition program. If you have recognition already, or if you don't, that's not the point. I just want to meet with HR leaders. And moving forward, we're going to be doing a lot more interviews as well. So if you'd love to share your thoughts or want to be on a podcast with me or one of these webinars, reach out to us. Plus, I'm going to be doing a live demo with Jess of the Recognize platform. I gave a quick demo of that earlier, a little bit of a taste of how, on the mobile website or on a TV, you can see how the recognitions can work where we're driving the company values through gamification. But we do around 30-minute, 45-minute session, a live demo where we'll go through all of the major components. And if you already have recognition, see what is out there. Maybe you can find out, hey, I'm actually doing great. Or, hey, actually, I can save some money if I move to Recognize. Whatever it may be, it's a no pressure session. And actually, we'll be giving out a $50 gift card randomly someone who comes. So if you stick to the end, at the end, we'll be doing a raffle, picking somebody, and you'll get a $50 gift card. Also, because we provide rewards, gift cards, swag, Amazon, live event tickets, soon flowers and other things. To get you started, we'll give you $500. So $500 off basically that goes right towards your rewards. That is your money. So if you only spend $200 of it and then say, you know what, I don't want to use Recognize anymore, we'll give you $300 that's left. We never, you never pay for rewards that you don't use with Recognize. It's incredibly affordable. You pay as you go essentially, and it allows you to have that great company culture, that employee recognition culture that we so need